Taya Valkyrie just made her debut on AEW Dynamite. Now somebody else has signed to the company. We're going to talk about it in today's video, as well as some big news regarding WWE Smackdown, or a future episode of Smackdown. And yes, we got to talk about WWE's canceled plans for the Hall of Fame. Something big is going down. We're going to talk about it right here on The Ango Show. Today's video is brought to you by Ango Plays. Guys, this is my YouTube channel for WWE and AEW video game content. Just started it. Gonna be posting a lot up there and also live streaming on that channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so if you guys could help me out and click subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. The link will be in the description as well as pinned comment. We're gonna kick things off with WWE Smackdown. Some really big news for WWE Smackdown. Something that I'm actually really happy that WWE is doing. And that is the announcement of WWE Smackdown going to Puerto Rico the night before WWE Backlash. Now, you might be wondering why this is a big deal. AEW does this. WWE did this for Elimination Chamber. They've done it in the past with other events, but now it seems to be this new trend, which I think is really good for pro wrestling. But prior to going to a pay-per-view, you have a show that is live in the same arena, the same stadium, the same whatever it may be. You kind of have this energy, this monstrous energy and excitement for a pay-per-view. You build on it a little bit early by going live the night before. So we see this with WWE with Elimination Chamber. They were in Montreal for SmackDown. We saw how massive that was. That episode of SmackDown felt so much more special because it was in Montreal. And the same will be said for WWE when they go to Puerto Rico for SmackDown. AEW also does this for their pay-per-views. More specifically, you tend to see it with Dynamite, Rampage, and then the pay-per-view. Sometimes even Battle of the Belts or whatever it may be. However, I just think it's a good idea. I think it's a really good idea for these wrestling companies to really hone in on those pay-per-view weekends, because we see WWE, they make a big deal out of the Big Four, which is great, right? Royal Rumble and Survivor Series and Money in the Bank and SummerSlam and WrestleMania. Like, we see how WWE treats those pay-per-views with such special stuff. Like, there's just a special feeling around those pay-per-views. They do a really good job of building that excitement, and now they're starting to make their other pay-per-views kind of feel that way. AEW has been doing this. The only difference is AEW obviously has less pay-per-views than WWE, but ultimately I think this is a good move for AEW. I think it results in more ticket sales, and I think for WWE it's going to result in more ticket sales as well. Just a really good approach to making sure the pay-per-view every time feels a little bit more special. Something I think is a great idea. Guys, WWE's Batista is not going into the Hall of Fame this year, according to PW Insider. So if you guys didn't know, the WWE Hall of Fame will have 5 members this year in the class, being headlined by Rey Mysterio. So far, Rey Mysterio and the Great Muta were announced for it. Also, Stacy Keibler was rumored for it. We spoke about PW Insider's report on that just a couple days ago on this channel. So if you're not subscribed, then you're missing some pretty big news. But now there's going to be 2 other wrestlers who have yet to be inducted, and no, Batista is not going to be one of them, and there are also no tag teams that are being planned for the Hall of Fame this year. So this is obviously a really crazy thing, because Batista for years and years and years has been rumored for the WWE Hall of Fame, and now nobody seems to understand why Batista isn't in the Hall of Fame. Now, originally, these were all just rumors and reports, and obviously it's not happening. So why is it not happening? There's a couple things that we can discuss, right? One, I think you can definitely throw in the Vince McMahon and the sale rumors as a reason as to why somebody might not want to be associated with WWE. Secondly, I think you could also throw in the fact that scheduling conflicts could very well happen, especially now that Batista is really kicking ass in Hollywood and he's coming out with some great movies and his stock continues to rise in Hollywood. I think scheduling conflicts are also very reasonable and realistic. But also, third, I just think WWE can be holding off on some of this. The Hall of Fame is really not the biggest thing anymore. Years ago, the Hall of Fame used to be its own event. Now the Hall of Fame is like taped right after SmackDown. So it's just one of those things where, like, it's not the biggest deal anymore. And I'm not saying that in like a negative way. I'm not saying that as a bad thing. But truth be told, I've gone to a Hall of Fame during WrestleMania 34 weekend. I went to the Hall of Fame and I said, look, it was fun. The speeches were great. It was awesome. It was a cool experience. But I've been there. I've done that. I don't necessarily care to go to every Hall of Fame. I wouldn't necessarily care to see every Hall of Fame induction. You can watch it in person. You can watch it on television. I feel like it has the same effect. But ultimately, that's just my opinion. I don't think a lot of people out there want to go and listen to speeches. When you're going out there and spending money on a vacation to go to California for Los Angeles, you got GCW and Impact and Ring of Honor, and you have WWE and you have NXT and you have all of these shows that are going on. The last thing you want to do is go to the Hall of Fame. It's just, in my opinion, that's the way I kind of see it, and I don't mean any disrespect by that, but the realistic thing is people are spending their hard-earned money to go and enjoy everything. There's a reason why the Hall of Fame isn't the most desirable thing that's happening on WrestleMania weekend. So maybe all of this has to do with WWE downsizing the Hall of Fame, right? 5 inductees instead of, 10 or whatever it was before. And then keep in mind, WWE in the future will be in a situation where WrestleMania 40 comes around. Maybe it makes more sense to induct Batista. But for now, it's not happening. We'll see what comes out of it. My guess is that Batista, he's been rumored for years. My guess is that maybe this has something to do with scheduling, or maybe WWE wants to save it for a bigger year. I think when you have Rey Mysterio as the inductee, I think that is a big enough name to stand on its own. So you don't necessarily want to put Batista on the same Hall of Fame card. So with that lineup being announced, I'm assuming that maybe Batista will headline WrestleMania 40's Hall of Fame, and we'll see if that goes down. Guys, AEW has announced the new signing of Sarah Stock. You guys might remember her on TNA Impact. She was known as Sarita. She was there from 2009 to 2012. Then she obviously worked in CMLL from 2005 to 2015 under the name Dark Angel. She was also a coach in WWE NXT. Sarah Stock is Canadian, so obviously it makes a lot of sense that this announcement was being made. This has been revealed because AEW has been in Canada. AEW has massive plans in Canada. Sarah Stock is joining AEW. This is good. You want veterans to join. You want new coaches. You want new producers. You want people who have experience in the industry to make their way to AEW. Yes, Sarah Stock was a coach at the WWE Performance Center. That's just the reality here. Another signing from WWE, but ultimately that doesn't really matter. In the case of AEW, you need to progress and teach people as much as possible. You don't have your own performance center. The more veterans you could put in, the better it is for your company overall. This is something I definitely support. I've said in the past that AEW should continue to sign new coaches and new producers, people who have experience in this industry, because the best thing that you could do is continue to develop people on your own. And look, we don't know what the hell is going on with AEW Dark and Dark Elevation, but a lot of squash matches are happening there. This is where they're getting the first look at some of the independent talent possibly joining the company. My guess is this could be a thing where maybe now we start using AEW Dark truly as a developmental program, and then maybe the idea of AEW launching their own performance center wouldn't be a bad idea in the future, because if you launch a performance center, you already have these incredible coaches in your company that can help run it. If you're Tony Khan, that might be something worth doing. I know their strategy is different from WWE, but we have seen how beneficial it is for WWE. That is not an opinion, that is a fact. We are seeing WWE create tons of stars. The proof is literally in NXT. Whether you love or hate NXT, whatever it is that you feel towards NXT, just remember that NXT has created stars like Roman Reigns, Big E. We've seen so many people come from NXT. We saw Sami Zayn come from NXT, and we've seen Charlotte Flair come from NXT, and we're seeing a lot more talent come from NXT, and we're seeing the future from NXT, and it's huge. And look, some people are going to come from the indies. Obviously, that's normal. But when they go to the NXT and they become a WWE superstar and become a big name in the WWE, that is massive. If AEW could replicate that, that would also be huge. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time.